Good evening. I call to order the Lake Havasu City Council regular meeting on Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022 at 6 p.m. We'll now have an invocation from Pastor Dean Wiles from Abundant Grace Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Jason West with the Bureau of Land Management.
Well, first, let me I just want to encourage you all on the council. I know being in leadership and some of these positions, the thanks sometimes you get is this much compared to the things that you should be doing, and some of the things. So I just want to say thank you for your service to our city. Thank you for serving our people. And, may you just continue to realize that it's not by accident that you're in these positions. And, I know you all know you've been elected, you've been chosen, and not just by the people. But the Bible talks about that all the leaders are in positions, they've been, appointed by him, by the Lord. And so I just want to say thank you, first of all, just for your service to our city. The Bible says in Galatians, it says, let us not become weary in doing good. And I know sometimes, man, the load gets heavy and you can grow weary in doing the good things. And not just good in the sight of man and man's standards, but we're talking about good in the standards of the Lord. And so let's not grow weary in standing up for justice and doing good in the eyes of the Lord. Because it says, for at the proper time, we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. That's a promise. And I don't think God's ever gone back on any of his promises. And so our city will continue to be blessed as we continue to do good, not in man's eyes necessarily, but in his eyes. And so just thank you all for your service. So let's just pray. Lord, I just thank you for this time that we could be together. And Holy Spirit, I invite your presence into this room, even into the homes that are watching right now. God, you know what's going on in individual lives, and I just ask that you help them. Let your peace that passes our natural understanding come and fill this room, fill these homes. And Lord, we're just so thankful for your blessings upon us and upon our city. God, as we get ready to go into a time of spring breaks and a lot of tourist things going on, I just pray that you continue to just keep your hand upon the people, protect them. God, I pray your blessings upon our businesses and Lord, that you continue to let our city flourish. Lord, we just thank you again for this great community. We thank you for our country. May you continue to guide our country, protect our country, bless our country. Lord, we thank you for our freedoms. And Lord, today, I just want to lift up Mayor Cal to you, God, that you continue just to bless him and protect him and give him wisdom. Lord, I pray for Vice Mayor Jim and God, City Council Member Jenny Koch and David Lane and Nancy Campbell and Michelle Lynn, God, and Cameron Moses. Lord, I pray that you continue to give them all wisdom as they go about doing their business, as they make decisions. Lord, I pray that you give them wisdom, give them a sense of the welfare of the true needs of the citizens, of the people here in Lake Havasu City. God, I pray that you give each one a thirst for justice and righteousness. God, I pray that you give them the ability to work together in harmony, even when there's disagreements. And Lord, I pray that you give them personal peace in their lives and joy in the task that you've called them to do. Lord, for our city manager and all the administrative assistants, our city attorney, Kelly, and city clerk, and Judge Mitchell, the other judges, and Fire Chief Peter, and Police Chief Dan, and Parks and Rec Director Mike. And God, I could just say a general prayer, but Lord, I want to be specific. And God, I pray blessing over each one. God, I pray you protect their families, protect their homes. And God, again, I pray that you reveal yourself to each one in a powerful way. For each person that's standing in this room today, for each home that is watching right now, I pray your blessings over them, over their business, over their families. And God, for each one that may doubt that you're real, I pray that you would prove and show them that you are real. God, bless them and let them experience your love in a powerful way. So right now, we pray for this agenda that's set before us. Give us wisdom. Give them wisdom as they make decisions. And Lord, if there's things that need to be addressed, I pray that you put it upon the heart of the people to address those issues. And may we all have teachable spirits, God, that will be willing to look at things with open minds. And Lord, most of all, I ask that there would be just a sense of honor and respect for one another. God, may we continue to walk in unity. And Lord, let this council not just, may they do the things that they know they need to do and not just follow suit of what other cities and other things are doing. But God, let this council be a leader for the other cities in this state and in our nation to do what's right, to do what's good. And Lord, again, we just dedicate this time to you. We love you and we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
If y'all want to get back up for the pledge. Thanks, y'all. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, y'all. Did you want me to say a...
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Jason, if you just wanted to tell us a little bit about what's going on at the local BLM office, and then we have an actual agenda item and a few items that will bring you back up as well.
Hi, y'all. I'm the BLM manager locally. I take care of about 1.3 million acres of y'all's land, and when you tell me what to do, I usually listen pretty good because it hurts when I don't. And I'm happy to be here tonight. We have an agenda item that we're really excited about that we've been working on for 7 years, and it's something that I hope y'all will be in favor of. But our office is right behind the Hobby Lobby on Kiowa Avenue. Feel free to stop by and let me know concerns, complaints, or congratulations if my folks have treated you well and done good things for you. And we're getting ready right now to transition to our summer season with our boat-in campsites on the lake. And so as all those folks roll in, you'll start to see the BLM boats collecting garbage and making the campsites nice for everybody. And if you get an opportunity to say hi to my folks out on the water, let them know that you appreciate them. They'd sure like that. They work in 130 degrees cleaning garbage in bathrooms. It's kind of nice to have somebody say thanks every once in a while. And that's all I got.
All right, perfect. Yeah, thank you. All right, item 4 on the agenda is the roll call. Ms. Williams, if you please call the roll.
Council members Nancy Campbell. Here. David Lane.
Here.
Michelle Lynn. Here. Cameron Moses.
Here.
Jenny Koch. Here. Vice Mayor Jim Dolan.
I am here.
Mayor Cal Sheehy.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item 5 is call to the public. This is an opportunity where citizens have to address the city council with matters within the jurisdiction of Lake Havasu City. Your comments are limited to 3 minutes. There is a light indicator box next to Ms. Williams. Green means you have 3 minutes. Yellow means you have 1 minute remaining, and red means that the 3 minutes is up. Again, we ask that you just follow and be respectful of each other, follow decorum. You're here to address the council, so just address the council here at the dais, not here to address staff. And again, items that are within the jurisdiction of Lake Havasu City. You don't have to sign up to speak a call to the public, but we did have 2 citizens do that. So we'll start with those citizens, and then we'll open it up to the room. So we'll start with Mr. Don Bergen.
Good evening. I wanted to hear an item that you were talking about, but while I'm here, I want to mention another subject. About 6 years ago, ADOT did a bunch of work fixing up the Swanson Avenue between Acoma and Mesquite. Mm-hmm. Smoke Tree.
Smoke Tree, yes.
Smoke down to Smoke Tree. But one thing they put in was a bike path that went, actually it didn't go to Smoke Tree and it didn't come to Acoma. And it is one way only. But I use Smoke Tree probably on the average of 2 times a day. And in those 6 years, I have never, ever seen anyone on that bike trail. Never. I've seen a few on the sidewalk, but none on that bike trail. And that bike trail is it's the width of the handlebars of a bike, which means that the arm's going to be out in the driving lane. It is a very dangerous place. And I really think we need to find some way to eliminate it before we have a tragic accident. It's bound to happen if it stays there. And also to the west of Smoke Tree, ADOT is now looking at fixing that road up also. Please try to see that they do not put that bike path down there too, to make it worse. And that's the subject I wanted to get to you. Please consider it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. The next citizen that signed up is Angel Mignette.
Thank you for the opportunity to let me talk. I have just a simple question. I read on the Nextdoor app that you guys are planning on putting electric eels, and it might be a joke, I don't know how it is, on people's swimming pools to create electricity. Is this correct?
Yeah, no, that's not.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you.
Yes.
That's about it. Somebody wrote a very, very nice article, I tell you. It's very, very convincing, which is where I came. I thought it was stupid, but thank you very much.
No, thank you. Yeah, thank you for coming. All right, would anyone else like to address the city council at call to the public? If so, just make your way to the podium and state your name for the record.
Oh, look, the whole front row is empty. Maybe I'll sit there after this. Hello, I'm Bonnie Toy, and hi, Mayor, Council, Manager, Attorney. Yes. As a citizen who is disabled, sorts, whether I like it or not, I noticed at Winterfest this last weekend that, one, all the Donikers were up in inaccessible areas as somebody who was walking on the street. I couldn't just access Donikers, one of those portable potties. And I could not just access it without, with ease, because I couldn't. And then, other thing I noticed was that on Swanson Avenue and Smoke Tree, the traffic was insane. And trying to cross that street, there were no traffic cops. Now, I don't know who's responsible for the traffic during an event like that, but trying to cross that street and nobody knows whose turn it is to go left, whose turn it is to go right, or whose turn it is to hit me, it just wasn't very fun. Then somebody told me recently that the city approved some apartment complex to be built that has absolutely no handicap accessibility, and they're like 3 stories tall. I have no idea if that's true or not, or if it was just something said in passing, and really am curious as to, I know you can't tell me right now, but, the things that the city does to try to help those who have accessibility issues. And I know some people don't like the bike lanes, but I do dream, and one day I'll be back on a bike using the bike lane. Matter of fact, I was using that quite often when I was able to. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the city council during call to the public? All right, seeing now, we'll close the call to the public. Moving on to item 6 is our consent agenda. Would any of the council members like to remove any of the items for separate discussion?
Mayor,
Yes,
motion.
please.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Koch and a second from Councilmember Lane. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Moving on to item 7, correspondence, communications, petitions, announcements, and the city manager report. We'll start with item 7.1, which is the Lake Havasu City Partnership for Economic Development Annual Update. Mr. Knutson, are you going to introduce that?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. With us in the audience is James Gray, Director of the PD, and Chairperson Lisa Vanella. So I will turn the presentation over to them. We've asked them to attend once a year and talk about some of the great things that they've accomplished over the last 12 months and talk to us about the next 12 months. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Thank you for having us this evening. For those of you who don't know me, I am Lisa Vanella. I've been a resident, a business owner, and a business banker in Lake Havasu for 25 years. I have a master's degree in community economic development, and I currently serve as the Arizona representative for Clearinghouse CDFI, a community development finance institution whose mission is to address unmet credit needs in underserved communities throughout the United States and Indian country. But tonight I speak to you as the presiding chairperson for the Partnership for Economic Development. I'd like to take a minute to introduce and recognize any other PED board members present. Brishan? Okay, we have with us Brishan McGuire, and he is one of our newest board members. To provide more diversity and better representation from the community, we increased the size of our board this past year. Our newest board members, and I'll direct your attention to the slide, our newest board members are Brishan McGuire with Republic Services, and he's here with us tonight, Lisa Pender with Coldwell Banker A-Team, Dr. Josh Fishlock with ASU Lake Havasu, Jarrett Ports with PF Capital Partners, and Ross Hobday, a longtime resident and entrepreneur. Our board now has representatives from several of Lake Havasu's largest employers, the education and small business sectors, and members with significant real estate development and financial expertise. I'm very proud of our board and what they choose to accomplish in this city. I want to take a minute to thank Council Member Nancy Campbell for her service on our board last year. She was a very active member on the PED's executive board, and among other projects, she assisted us with the review and update of our corporate documents. To remain compliant and current, the board proactively, along with the help of legal counsel, updated our bylaws and policies and procedures. We really appreciate you helping with that, Nancy. Thank you. We now welcome Cameron Moses, this year's council representative, and look forward to his input and guidance as we begin the initial stages of writing a 2 to 3 year strategic plan. As part of the planning process, we will be reviewing our obligations set forth in the contract with Lake Havasu City. We will be determining the deployment of capital and the time dedicated to each of those objectives. And we will be creating initiatives and goals for the new co-working facility, including a budget and strategy for self-sustainability. The PED is grateful for the council's commitment to growing our local economy and enhancing the quality of life for our residents. The investment in our city is needed to continue our positive direction. Under the leadership of our very talented director, James Gray, and creative director, Amy Spitzer, the PED has been successful with a wide variety of economic development initiatives. We've checked off some little boxes this year, and we've checked off some big boxes, and some of those James will share with you now. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Vanella. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I want to run through, sorry, I have a little head cold, so I feel like on this microphone, I feel like I could sing bass. Do you hear that? It's great. I want to run through a few things going in the future, and one of the things I want to talk about is the downtown co-working space. We've had a 5-month delay because of steel, but I'm happy to report that our project is moving on successfully. By March 3rd, we expect all the red iron to be in the air. If you're like me, you drive by it every single day and walk through it and ask questions. They're actually hanging a lot of the windows. It's starting to form. You can kind of see the design of the building. March 10th through 24th, you'll see that they'll start shaping it with all the paneling. So what you're seeing right here is everything except for the Studio B building that is up. It is 9,100 square foot co-working facility. It's a little over 3 times the size of F106. So it's a pretty substantial investment in that area. So if I could go to the next slide. I just want to share a couple things on what we've learned and experienced at F106 in the value of co-working. And it's really to create resources for the growing population of distance workers. This has been huge. I got to tell you how many times we've serviced people that only come to work in this town for 6 to 8 weeks. Architects, lawyers, consultants, they need a place to work. And that's a huge factor as we see post-pandemic. You know, we started F106 with kind of this very staple mind of what we thought co-working was. And what we're seeing right now is a huge influx of distance workers who, for 90% of the time, can work out of their home, but they have certain issues that they need to be in a co-working space, whether it's a large meeting, whether it's virtual, whether it's using podcast equipment, things of that nature. So we're looking forward to servicing that. And then also the shared resources. This is literally huge. So they come in and not only are they sharing and collaborating ideas, but they're sharing expenses. For example, Bravo 32, if you know Sean Lawless, he's a great example of someone that was in our co-work facility for about 14 to 16 months, I believe. Now he has 5 employees and he's expanding even larger. And one of the things he'll say is, well, I put all the capital, instead of renting a space, getting people together, I put all my capital right back into the business. And that's what we're trying to do. And so I want to go back to this. F106 has been a pilot program, but this is gonna operate more like an incubator. And what we mean by that is companies in there will have more mentorship and support than what they currently experience at F106. The building will be able to offer that. So we have scales from solopreneurs that have been able to build $100,000 SEO business all the way up to manufacturing. They're literally gonna need different mentoring. And so this building will be able to give them more of that opportunity. So as we invest more time into their company so that they grow at a faster rate. So we're really excited about this coming online. And I know the question that people want to know is when it's going to open. You know, in a perfect world, we're saying October, but I want you to put that with a little bit of pause that we just sat and wait for 5.5 months for steel. So we're excited for that timeline, but we're not gonna, that's just a goal that where we're at. Next slide, please. This is something I'm sure you guys haven't been in a conversation about lately, affordable housing. I was talking to Councilmember Koch about this. I think it's very interesting. Whether we say affordable housing, workforce housing, essential housing, that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And I think right now, although last year we were able to work with Castle Park Investments on the Victoria Farms Villages, that's 350. It's great. It's not a solution, and it's certainly not a plan. And so when we started looking at this, we wanted to create an affordable housing study. And what will it do? The first task is what I think is incredibly important for both the public and the private sector, and that's the data collection and analysis. And then the second thing is it'll come back with a comprehensive implementation strategy to mitigate that gap. Now, what we've asked for from Elliott Pollock is a hybrid. We want solutions both on the public sector and on the private sector. We want them all in the plan. And so if you look down the tasks, there's a couple that I'd like to talk to you about. Task number 3, community task force. I think this is important. The mayor put me back in touch with the Realtors Association. We had talked a couple of years ago, pre-pandemic, about putting together a grant to do a study. I think that it's great. This is only the first step in this process. And so having them on board, Mojave County, Michael Smith within housing, Tammy Ursenbach, one of the biggest places that we have to go in our scope is we couldn't just study Lake Havasu City. If we did, there's not enough land. We can go through that. You saw some of those slides that we showed in the Victoria Farms Villages. We need that corridor, and we need to understand the alternatives, the infrastructure, what's available, and so it'll have part of that. Last week, the PED board did approve this. It has a 6-month timeline, and actually tomorrow is the first day we start that with Elliott Pollock with our first jump into getting this done. I will say that not only is there a benefit that everyone starts playing on the same data, but it's truly going to help the private sector for grants and that we've been working with. So we have a lot of private sector partners in that. Let me go to the next slide. I know I'm going pretty quick, but you can always stop me if you want to ask questions. Attraction and site selection. Lake Havasu City, this is no news flash to anyone, is incredibly strong right now. And as strong as it is in real estate, in residential, our commercial is selling very quick. It's very limited supply to the point where we're utilizing virtual sites because we don't have sites to show people. So we've had to cobble together vacant land. We've had to put timelines on buildings. We have to be able to show them something and build a future around people that want to invest in Lake Havasu City. One of the positive steps this last December, and we'll be back there in May, is ICSC, Recon in Las Vegas. It's been an incredible lead generation for us and also engagement for not only developers, but end users who are looking to take what is a really condensed market, right? We were in the past known as a very soft market. It used to go something like this. You are great on an event weekend, but what happens the next Tuesday? We're not hearing that as much anymore because the traffic's not ceasing, whether it's 67 or 117. We have a real constant flow of people here that is, arriving at that 60,000. That's an incredibly dense population. And then I'll just jump to the business park really quick. Last week, the Frito-Lay distribution, all the permits were approved by the city. And they've already dropped partially. They're still building. That is 12 to 18 full-time employees in the first year. Has a great wage and health care. So we're looking forward to that. And then Allo Communications, which has been a huge win this last year for for our team. Really appreciate working with Mayor and Jess being part of that team. But they have 2 fully functioning construction yards out there as they're ramping up in their attempt to be fiber to premise. And we're pretty excited about that. I think everyone is. And then I'll just jump to the next slide. Creative Comrades. We've done a couple new things. One, we've added an advisory board. I think this has been a really good focus as we look for new content. You can see the advisory board there. It's been a great help in locating speakers where we've only had 2 so far. Last month was Dustin Runyon and Apex West Realty. It's the longest Creative Comrades we ever have had. It started at 6:30. We cut people off at 8:10. Questions. We're just like, no more. Like, you're going to have to talk to them about housing later. But we're trying to create an environment for entrepreneurs to collaborate. And we're trying to get people outside of their sectors to collaborate and understand what other people are doing. I met a full stack developer there, which, by the way, there's at least 3 companies in here that would, in our little ecosystem, that would love to have his services. And so it's incredible at exchanging networks of talent. And then we're just trying to encourage growth and opportunity within. It has a credible reach. And I will say that next month is Christian Castro, which is a pretty incredible story. He just sold an IT company in Seattle. He's a serial entrepreneur. And so we look forward to that. And one last slide. First Friday. First of all, there's only 3 more events in the season. But I kind of want to talk about a couple of things. The engagement of vendors and business owners has really been accelerating. So the attendance is great, but we're starting to engage a lot more people, and as you can see by the map below. But not only that, just in last year, we have 350 newsletter subscribers. If you don't know, they're sending out newsletters every week talking about the artists if you want to know more about the people that are making stuff. Last year, we only had 5 events, but the Facebook reach was 47,000 people. And just for an example, how that's growing this last month, from January, let me get my numbers right, January 14th to February 10th, we had over 20,000 engagement for the February. We have a couple of goals that will be wrapped into the strategic plan. One is, just as background, this is the 2nd season of First Friday that they have run exclusively on the funds that they make. It was born out of Creative Comrades. PED invested money in Yard City, and the whole point was to engage new patterns of people, the community coming to downtown to be a demonstration of what it could look like to build events for people that live here. I think it successfully have done that, but I think at some point over the next couple of years, it needs to roll out into its own nonprofit. And it probably needs to be engaged in more by the downtown people that run it. And we need to be the first to help it grow even more. But that'll be a part of that planning process. And with that, that's a lot of things I just threw at you. But Chair Vanella or myself will take any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gray. Are there any questions or comments from members of the council? Councilmember Lane?
Thank you. Good report, Mr. Gray. Appreciate that and all the stuff that you and your team have been doing. This is the first time in a public meeting I've actually heard you bring up Frito-Lay. It's kind of come in under the radar. Most people in town didn't know that Frito-Lay was actually coming with a distribution center here to Lake Havasu. Can you kind of tell us how long you've been working on that and how many jobs they actually plan on bringing to Lake Havasu?
Yeah, so and a lot of times when we work with corporate partners, everyone in our office had to sign an NDA. It went under the term Crossland Barnes, who's the site selector for the longest time. But now that they've fully purchased the land, have all their construction documents, they're ready to go. They should probably have a construction. We were just having a conversation late last week. They're bringing the construction team out from the East Coast. And so, again, another thing that's really interesting, we've encouraged them to use a lot of local subs, and we're trying to gear it that way. But it will create 12 to 18 jobs. It's a hub for their distribution in our community only. It'll be run out of Sprinter vans.
Thank you. And just for those that don't know, NDA is a non-disclosure agreement. You could not talk about it before.
Correct.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from members of the council? All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Gray, and thank you to Chairperson Vanella and members of the board for your presentation this evening and for the work you're doing for economic development in Lake Havasu City. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item 7.2, which is announced vacancies on Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. Ms. Williams.
Mayor and City Council, there are several vacancies on Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. The following is the listing of those vacancies. Board of Adjustment, 1 regular member and 3 alternate members. And Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, 1 regular member. Anyone interested can pick up a packet at City Hall, and they are also available on the city's website at lhcaz.gov. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7.3 is the city manager's report. Good evening, Mr. Knudsen.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I'd like to start off this evening's manager's report with a congratulations on a happy retirement. I'd like to congratulate Earl Chiffant from the Lake Havasu City Police Department. Thank you, Earl, for your retirement, and thank you for 20 years of your service dedicated to Lake Havasu City and its residents. Earl was hired as a police officer in March of 2002 and just retired earlier this month. He'll be going from one career to another as he'll be teaching for the Lake Havasu Unified School District. We wish him nothing but the best in his retirement and future endeavors, and he's going to do real well as a teacher for the district. A few of us met just last week at the League of Arizona Cities and Towns for Legislative Day in Phoenix, and we toured the Capitol. Representatives Regina Cobb and Leo Biasucci introduced us on the floor, the House floor, and we met with Senator Sonny Borelli in the Senate floor lounge before he went into his session. Thank you to all of our elected officials at the state level for your conversations and your concern for Lake Havasu City and its residents. In attendance was Councilmember Cameron Moses, Jerry Bracamani, Councilwoman Jenny Koch, Mayor Cal Sheehy, myself, Anthony Kozlowski. We had our volunteer intern from ASU Lake Havasu, Ahmed Metwali was there. And we were also graced with the presence of former Councilwoman Donna McCoy and her husband, Kim McCoy. So again, it was a fruitful experience for us to advocate for the things that are important for Lake Havasu City. And we succeeded in that effort. Mayor Sheehy, you attended this year's Winterfest and presented a proclamation to kick off their 36th annual event. You also attended the 5-year birthday ribbon cutting for the Agave Physical Therapy. And this morning, Mayor, you were the keynote speaker for the Lake Havasu High School Associated Student Body as you spoke to them on goal setting and finding out who you are as a leader. Councilmember Michelle Lynn, you attended a roundtable with Congressman Gosar just last week that was hosted by the Lake Havasu Area Chamber of Commerce. Seth Crick has achieved the rank of Eagle Scout, the highest honor in scouting. And in order to achieve this honor, Seth completed his Eagle project by making a life jacket loaner station over at Site 6. Seth worked with Boy Scout Troop 55, Sea Scout Ship 450, and our Parks crew to install the station. He said the main purpose of the stand is to provide life jackets to people who may not have brought their own, so they can hopefully lower the number of drownings that have occurred over the last few years on the water. He said having these life jackets available on a public launch ramp is a major stride forward to prevention of drownings. Thank you, Seth, for your efforts, and congratulations on your earning of this prestigious rank of Eagle Scout. In the photo, he's accompanied by Tim Rodriguez, who is our Parks Field Supervisor. So thank you for your assistance on this one, Tim, as well. And finally, I'd like to invite the public to join us for coffee with the mayor and city manager. It'll be next Friday, March 4th, and it'll be here in the council chambers at 8:30 a.m. Residents are encouraged to attend to express any issues, concerns, or questions. And as always, the meeting does not require an RSVP. Just simply show up and enjoy the come and go setting. Mayor and council, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Knudsen. All right, we'll move on to item 8, which is our public hearings, starting with 8.1, a Class B bingo license transfer of location for Friends of the Food Bank. Ms. Williams.
Mayor and City Council, Ms. April Sue Denicus, 4 Links doing business as Win-Win Bingo, has applied for a transfer of location, Class B bingo license for Friends of the Food Bank from 510 East Main Street, Quartzsite, Arizona to 5601 Highway 95. This application was reviewed internally and no objections were received. Class B licenses are dedicated to raising funds for the sponsoring charitable organizations. Before you is, this item was heard before you on February 8th and was tabled for questions. The applicant is available via Zoom to answer any questions from the council, and I'm also happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. And I spoke to the applicant after our last meeting and my questions were answered, but we do have the applicant on Zoom if any members of the council have any questions.
Mr. Mayor, I just have one question. Can the applicant tell us how a nonprofit would get an application to be part of this? I don't know what I want to call it. Yeah, so how they would be able to receive some of that funding?
Sure.
Yes, absolutely. Hi, good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Us at Win-Win Bingo, we can help any nonprofit with all of their licensing needs. All of that paperwork is through the Department of Revenue, which can be found on their site or also in our offices. I can get you the full packets.
Are you talking about the office out by the mall then?
Yes, ma'am, at 5601 Highway 95 at the shops.
So the nonprofit, somebody could just come in there and get the application?
Yes, and then in the application, it's on the front page, it's going to tell you everything that you're going to need to send in with your application, your 501c3, a copy of some of the financials, and the state and city fees that also go with that.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Great. Are there any other questions of the applicant?
I have a question. So just to clarify, so all the profits that go to the charity side of it go to the Quartzsite and Wickenburg Food Bank and not to the Havasu Food Banks?
That is correct right now. That is the only active food bank that has a bingo license. We are talking with the food bank here in Havasu to see if they would like to join in and start raising profits. The Quartzsite one, unfortunately, had to close down due to COVID. And so their bingo license has been just sitting null, and we have the space for us to help them. So we thought maybe we could transfer it over to us until the license runs out in May.
So then in May, you do a new 501c3 would be the point at that point, or?
If the Quartzsite one wanted to continue with us, then they would just file a renewal with the Department of Revenue. And if they didn't, then we would move on to the next 501c3. We can host up to 20 in our building.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to council. April Sue, you are now open, correct? Could you share the hours of the operation?
Yes, right now we are running Friday through Tuesday from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. And if this license transfer goes through, then we will be hiring 5 new employees, and we will be running 7 days a week from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Excellent. Thank you. Are there any
You're welcome.
questions of the applicant or, Councilmember Lane?
Thank you. Yeah, I guess I just need some clarification because the way I understand it, as of right now, any proceeds that you make from this bingo hall here in Lake Havasu will then be taken outside the city of Lake Havasu and sent to other food banks. But if our food bank would like to join in and sometime in the future, they can do that. But as of right now, there's no guarantees that any money generated in Lake Havasu stays in Lake Havasu?
Only 30% of the generation goes back to Quartzsite. The other 70% stays in here in Havasu, paying our employees, paying our rent, paying our bills, and everything else.
Yeah, there's in my conversation with April Sue, there has been a lot of apprehension because it's new. This bill just passed last year, so once the proof of concept can be discovered, then local nonprofits might be more engaged in the process and want to join in. But I believe you've tried multiple ones, April Sue, based on our conversation.
Yes, we have. I'm talking right now with about 5 different local nonprofits, and we're assisting them getting their bingo licenses.
And I also think that it'll be a positive for the shops of Havasu. It'll give people something to go down and do. Maybe the kids go to the movies, you get to go play a little bingo, and all for a good cause. So it's a positive thing, and I look forward to seeing it in action.
Thank you. We hope we invite everybody to come down into our facility, and everybody can check it out.
Vice Mayor Dolan, did you have?
I have a question. The name of the bingo hall, is it called Friends of the Food Bank, or is it?
The name of the bingo hall is Win-Win Bingo.
Okay. Okay, that makes more sense. So then I'm just trying to get an idea of how it works. So it's not food,
right.
Friends of the Food Bank on the sign, because some people had concerns that, well, then they go there and they think it's supporting the Havasu Food Bank, but now it seems to make a little bit more sense. So you can add more 501c3s to this that can use this in the future. So.
Absolutely. Like I said, our building right now with the machines that we have in there, we can, per statute, put in 20 nonprofits. And we only we have 1 currently that we're running on. Hopefully with the Friends of the Food Bank transfer, that'd be 2. So that's 18 more from Havasu that we can add.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, Councilmember.
You're very welcome.
I just want to add, I was out there this weekend just to take a peek at it. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And it's for 18 and above, correct?
Yes, 18 and above.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. It's not like your typical bingo. It looks like you're playing a slot machine. It's kind of fun. I didn't play. I just looked.
All right. Any additional questions or comments? Entertain
motion.
A motion? Yeah.
Well, first, I'd just like to thank the applicant for being with us for Zoom and answering all these questions. I move to.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I move to recommend that the Arizona Department of Revenue approve a Class B bingo license transfer of location for the Friends of the Food Bank to 5601 Highway 95, the shops at Lake Havasu.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Moses and a second from Councilmember Lynn. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Item 8.2 is a Series 10 beer and wine store liquor license, London Bridge Chevron, 1597 McCulloch Boulevard.
We got it.
Ms. Williams.
Mayor and City Council, Felicity Ann Herron has applied for a Series 10 beer and wine store liquor license for London Bridge Chevron, located at 1597 McCulloch Boulevard. All posting requirements have been met, all fees have been paid, and no objections were received. The location is properly zoned for a Series 10 liquor license. I'm happy to answer any questions, and a representative on behalf of the applicant is also in attendance to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Ms. Williams or the representative of the applicant? All right. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the City Council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to council.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Koch? Yes, please.
I move to recommend that the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control approve a Series number 10 beer and wine store liquor license for London Bridge Chevron, 1597 McCulloch Boulevard.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Koch and a second from Councilmember Moses. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Item 8.3 is adopt resolution number 22-3554, ordering and calling a primary election to be held on Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022, and if necessary, a general election to be held on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022, to nominate candidates for mayor and council member positions and providing for and giving notice of such elections and the deadline for voter registration and the place and last date for candidates to file nomination papers. Ms. Williams.
Mayor and City Council, the resolution before you designates Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022 as the date for holding the primary election in Lake Havasu City for the purpose of nominating candidates for 1 mayor and 3 council member positions. Lake Havasu City will also hold its general election on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022, if necessary. Any candidates receiving a majority of all votes cast at the primary election will be declared elected without running in a general election. In order to be qualified for voting, electors must be registered by July 5th, 2022 for the primary election and October 10th, 2022 for the general election. Candidates seeking office for council member may obtain nomination petitions and other materials in the city clerk's office and must file those papers and other required forms by the deadline of 5 p.m. on April 4th, 2022 in order for their names to appear on the primary election ballot. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions of any members of the council for Ms. Williams? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Yeah, please just make your way to the podium and state your name for the record.
My name's Bonnie.
Yeah, Bonnie, if you could just adjust that microphone down.
Yeah, no, I was just sitting here dreaming for a second, wishing I was a foot taller. There's something I don't understand, and I know I should understand it by now. But with the election that is held in August, I never seem to understand how sometimes the mayor or city council member actually ends up being completed election in August and not November. It is really confusing to me because I thought that when I voted, I didn't have to worry about voting in August because I could wait till November when that was the actual time for the vote. So there have been times, probably in the past, that I may have missed an August vote because I did not comprehend the fact that it's not, I don't know why you call it a primary election if the results are general, the same thing as a general election come November. And if, say, you win in August, you don't have to be on the ballot in November. But it just confuses me.
Sure.
Completely.
Yeah, so state statute is what we follow. And if in the primary election, if a candidate gets 50% plus one, they are elected to that office. And so oftentimes in Lake Havasu City for local elections, the elections are determined in the primary election. So it is important that voters get out and vote in that primary election phase.
Now, whose responsibility is it to let electors in the city know that they need to vote in August for who they want to win?
Yeah, so a variety of people. The elections are run by the county. So the county elections department sends out the voter pamphlet that includes election dates, candidates, and any additional items that voters have the opportunity to vote on. So the county does some outreach, and then through the city, processes like we're doing this evening is some of the outreach that we do. And as we get closer to the election, additional outreach will be conducted as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your questions. Would anyone else like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mayor.
Councilmember Lane?
Motion.
Please.
I move to adopt resolution number 22-3554, ordering and calling a primary election to be held on Tuesday, August the 2nd, 2022, and if necessary, a general election to be held on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022, to nominate candidates for mayor and council member positions and providing for and giving notice of such elections and the deadline for voter registration and the place and last date for candidates to file nomination papers.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Lane and a second from Councilmember Campbell. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we are ready to vote. I was like, I'm assuming that's going to be a yes, but yeah.
I thought I could sneak out. Okay,
All right.
yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item 8.4, which is adopt resolution number 22-3559, approving a minor amendment to the future land use map of the city's general plan for 40 Retail Center Boulevard, Retail Center 2, Parcel B, to change the future land use designation from employment to medium density residential. Mr. Morris.
Honorable Mayor and council members, thank you. Here's the subject property outlined in red. It measures just under 18 acres in size. It's currently vacant and undeveloped. It's located on west side of Highway 95 on Retail Center Boulevard, just south of the shops at Lake Havasu. The abutting properties to the north, the east and the west are zoned, the north, the south and the west are vacant properties. The property across to the east across Retail Center Boulevard is developed as an RV and vehicle sales facility. There's also a electrical utility switch yard down at the bottom left corner of the property. There's also a city wastewater and sewer available to the property. The zoning map shows the property is currently zoned C2, as is the other properties around it. To the property to the west is Mojave County, so the city limits is right along the western boundary of this property, and that Mojave County designation for that property is their general commercial designation. Now, this is a request to amend the general plan land use map. Since the subject property is less than 40 acres and is outside the original platted area, the commission and city council can review this application as a minor amendment. The applicant's letter of intent asks to amend the city's general plan land use map to facilitate development of residential uses for this property. The general plan amendment is the first step in this process. If this request is successful, the applicant will then propose a rezone request to rezone the property to an appropriate residential zoning district. After that zoning district approval, if approved, they may submit a subdivision plan for review for things like water, wastewater, traffic, right-of-way improvements, fire department access, and so on, for compliance with the city standards. The applicant's proposed letter of intent describes an obtainable housing development consisting of duplex and single-family dwelling units. The dwelling units will be between 700 and 900 square foot in range and will have attached garage. So here's a little detail. Now I'm going to zoom in on the future land use map. The subject property is currently designated as employment. The employment designation in the general plan is appropriate for uses like light manufacturing, research and development, professional offices, and office showroom type uses. The requested medium density residential land use designation is intended to provide opportunities for a mix of housing options and densities. The growth projections and capacity section of the general plan discuss how future land uses relate to the future land use plan and map of the city. It suggests that changes may be made by the Planning Commission and City Council if the proposed land use and zoning proposals are consistent with the other goals and policies within the general plan. The lack of land dedicated to low-cost housing is a problem for many cities in Arizona, including Lake Havasu City. This proposal asks the city to consider changing our philosophy regarding affordable, attainable housing in specific area by changing the designation of the general plan to medium-density residential, thus paving the way for a rezoning to begin to address the housing shortage. The existing platted area within the city cannot adequately address our housing shortcomings. Therefore, it may be appropriate for the Commission and City Council to consider how and where Lake Havasu City can address the housing issues in a more efficient manner. This proposed amendment is in conformance with the goals and policies within the city's general plan. And finally, the Planning Commission heard this request at its January 19th meeting and recommended approval by a vote of 5-1. One of the commissioners was concerned that the future residential units would not be set aside for full-time residents and voted against the request. That concludes staff's presentation. The applicant and property owner are also in the crowd if you have additional questions too. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Morris. Are there any initial questions of Mr. Morris from members of the council? Yeah, so maybe we should bring up the applicant to talk a little bit more about the future project.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. My name is Chris Stark. I'm the developer of this proposed project here. As Luke just pointed out, we are proposing 136 units, duplex type style. Our initial intention was to, with actually the 14 acres to the south that we just sold, was to do a storage condo project, which this 18 acres was gonna allow us to put 300 more storage condos. After kind of seeing how the economy's going, the lack of housing here in Havasu, we changed directions and decided that this would probably be a better fit for the town as well as the site itself. So that's pretty much where we're at. As you can see in the drawings, it's gonna consist of a 40 by 60 metal style garage. It's gonna be consistent with the RV storages around, really nice and architecturally appealing. And then we're gonna roll in a modular house, a 700, 900 square foot, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house next to it, minimal yards, essentially just try to get people in a house that's affordable. So our goal here is to build something as economically efficient as possible and pass that savings on to the consumer to, so that you're not having to, the houses here are very expensive, as everybody knows. So we're trying to create that lower price range for houses.
So is it envisioned that the folks that purchase these homes would own the land as well underneath them, or would they rent these? Or?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a rental at this point. That way we can manage like an HOA, it'd be a gate, take care of the trash stuff. That way we kind of got a little more hold on, I believe, at this point. But this is a lot of it's just preliminary because we haven't got the approval yet, so we don't want to go step too far into that other lane.
Okay. So just so I understand, and I totally understand it's preliminary, but lease the land, own the structure?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're all Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac approved because all the houses are going to be on a foundation. They're going to be level to the ground. It's not going to look like your typical mobile home, 1973 Fleetwood sitting on axles. It's going to look like a nice architecturally appealing house.
Okay. So Mr. Morris, in your presentation, you mentioned affordable housing multiple times. I'm assuming you got that language from the applicant?
Yes, that language is from the applicant's letter of request.
Okay. Attainable, affordable, whatever you want to call it. Basically, we're trying to build something as cheap as possible and pass that on to the consumer. So we're not looking for Section 8 or anything like that. We just want something that's in the lower price range.
Okay. Yeah, I caution people to use the word affordable because it means something different to everybody. Yeah. So what's affordable to one might not be affordable to others. And so I don't want to build a project as affordable housing or attainable housing when it's not to the general public. And so I'm a big proponent of more product, supply and demand on the economic scale. I mean, that works, a variety of different products. I support that as well. But I don't want to mislead citizens that we're doing something that is in the affordable realm if that's not what we're doing. And I mean, again, it's preliminary, but I caution us to throw out that word if that's not truly what that is that we're trying to do. Yeah. So any questions of other members of the council? Councilmember Campbell?
I agree with you, Mayor, that this is a supply and demand issue. And I've had this conversation every single day, it seems like, about what are you going to do to get people from not buying homes? Well, my 2 daughters are realtors. And this morning I'm putting a 9-apartment complex up for sale for $1.2 million. 5 or 6 investors must have been calling, the cap's the limit, buy it in. So I don't know how we fix this. And I don't think we have the legal right to go in and sell the realtor. I'm sorry, you're not helping us by raising this. And you can't sell to a Californian. We get this every single day. And all I can say is supply and demand, supply and demand. People may not like this. The other thing, I agree that at first I'm like, can't we do like a lease option to buy, to acquire people, to make sure they stay here longer on your properties? And everybody that I talked to in the industry said that the reason why we're leasing land now is we have better control over the HOAs and the environment around it. And it doesn't take much to go into Kingman and you'll see a bunch of manufactured home parks that are actually, you can buy the land, and you'll get it, not all of them are that way, but you'll get a pretty good visual of what's happening here. So it's an education thing for all of us. We are literally in the Beverly Hills of the Tri-City, and there's only 50 homes on the market right now this morning for sale. So of course, they're selling in an hour. And they're all calling. And how our city council can handle or manage that, I don't think there's a way. So I thank you. It's not the perfect solution. I'm glad you're not putting storage units. It seems like you have two things going on here. You can allow people storage and also home to live in. So I like your project.
Yeah, thank you. And I believe that the lease of the land is really beneficial because it's in the opportunity zone. I mean, that's the real benefit to this. Yeah. Yes. Any additional comments or questions, Councilmember Lane?
Thank you. Yeah, I have a couple of things that I do agree with. One, this is way better than storage units. There's going to be enough of those around that area. Two, it's a great business model. It's across the country where people buy their home and they put it on land and then they lease the land from someone else. And I think you alluded to the fact that there will be an HOA for this particular project. So, and I also agree that we can't, under fair housing, say, well, you can buy a house or you can't buy a house, but we can, through CC&Rs, ensure that the people that are living there full time, whether they're renters or owners or whoever they are, they're living there at least 6 months out of the year. You can do that through CC&Rs. And I realize this is just a property zone, but just going into the future as we move forward. I know Mr. Bergen had voted no on this issue because there was no guarantee. We've thrown out the word affordable housing, and there's no guarantee that that's what it would be here. So just moving forward, just one of the things to think about is those CC&Rs and how we can make sure that this can be a workforce housing type of a project. So, but like I said, much better than storage units.
Yep.
Yeah, Councilmember Moses?
No, I'd like to thank you again for no storage units, but be willing, having the desire to tackle this problem and be a part of the solution. So I appreciate you putting in the time and effort on it. And I think this will, again, add the supply that we so desperately need, as well as maybe even help rejuvenate our mall out there. You know, malls need homes around them, and I appreciate you adding those rooftops. So thank you.
Yeah, Councilmember Lynn?
Do we have some type of price point?
I mean, I don't want to be completely firm on that, but we're looking at the high 2s, low 3s.
Okay.
So something that's definitely probably most efficient.
I don't like the word thrown around with affordable housing either. I mean, it's going to meet the needs. It's obvious what this is going to be. We don't have to cover it out. We know what this is going to be. But it is more housing. It's more options. It's moving people out, you know, maybe making the homes more available in town for our families. But I mean, we could see what this is. I'm just going to keep repeating this. So I really, really am nervous about public safety and all these houses out in this development with what that looks like. So I know that we're doing a study on that, and I can't wait to hear what that is, but I still really struggle with that looks like with the growth in our public safety right now. But it is what it is. So thank you.
All right. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Yeah, please. Yeah, just make your way to the you have to make your way to the podium, Sandy, and then just state your name for the record so those at home can hear you as well and be part of the conversation.
I'm sorry. I just didn't hear the location.
This is located over off of, it's over by below Home Depot.
Behind?
Is that Retail Center?
London Bridge
Boulevard?
Road, that part?
Oh, Retail Center Boulevard, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. Would anyone else? Yes.
Donna McCoy. And I was just wondering, is there a ballpark for what the rent's going to cost the individuals? Was that
Yeah,
few? A few hundred.
Okay. So the question, just for the microphone, if we could try and stay on the microphone for those at home, but the question was what the rent would be. The plan right now is a few $100s a month for the rent for those watching at home. So thank you. If you just make your way to the microphone, please, sir. Yeah.
So what we're talking about is these homes are only going to be for rent, no, not for sale?
According to the preliminary model that Mr. Stark just mentioned to us, is that they would lease the land, but they would own the structure that the home sits on, is how it's being. But today what we're here for is a minor amendment to the general plan that would allow this process to move forward to zone it properly. That's where we would address some of the more specifics of what that project might look like. We also would address public safety, water and wastewater infrastructure, and the like.
I'm sorry,
Yeah. Would anyone else like to address the city council on this matter?
Yeah, question am I allowed to question him?
You can ask a question and then we'll see who's appropriate to answer.
He said it was going to be a few $100s, and I don't understand. Is it a few $100s for the land plus the purchase, another few $100s for the owning the building? So then it costs more than a few $100s. It's not just a few $100s.
Yes, that is the current preliminary project. That's in the very initial stages. There'll be a monthly lease for the rent of the land, and then you would have a mortgage or a payment for the housing structure, which would be in the high 2s, low 3s, from what the testimony has been this evening.
So if I take a home loan for $200,000, whatever that loan is, then I would also have to pay another few $100 rental space fee for that.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mayor, can I just make comment again? I know a lot of people get really uncomfortable about leasing land, and I did too. I didn't like it. But then after a while, when you realize every piece of property in this city is on property taxed land. And so I basically say we're leasing all of our land from the government as far as I'm concerned, and that's why I hate property taxes. But in the meantime, it's an easier way to think about it when you're writing that check for $300, $400, $500 a month for property taxes. The leased land does include an HOA, and sometimes it's some other amenities like an HOA property tax combo. So that's the way I look at it to make me feel a little better about it.
All right, we still are in the public hearing. Would anyone else like to address the city council on this matter? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council. So just to refresh, what we're here to talk about is a minor amendment to the general plan, which would allow for medium density residential in this area. We had a similar discussion recently about land across Highway 95 that we went through a similar process. My position is, again, more variety, opportunity. I think we need housing. Housing is a good thing. And hopefully the applicant was able to hear some of the feedback from the citizens in the council about the next stage. But is there any additional questions, comments from members of the council? Yeah, Councilmember Moses?
I mean, I just want to make a motion.
Sure.
If anybody's ready.
Yeah. Are you on the microphone?
Yep.
Okay,
I move to
you.
adopt
Yes.
resolution number 22-3559, approving a minor amendment to the future land use map of the city's general plan for 40 Retail Center Boulevard, Retail Center 2, Parcel B, to change the future land use designation from employment to medium density residential.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Moses, a second from Councilmember Lane. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item 8.5 is accept quick claim deeds and patents for Sarah Park from the United States Bureau of Land Management. Ms. Gary.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm pleased tonight to present this item. This is for the patents and quitclaim deeds for Sarah Park, which is a publicly administered land by the Bureau of Land Management. Sarah Park was originally leased to the Lake Havasu Irrigation and Drainage District in 1973 under a Recreation and Public Purposes Act lease. This lease allowed the local government to use this property for recreational and other public purposes that benefit local communities. So it's a limited use lease. The lease was reassigned to Mojave County in 1974, and then the city began operating and maintaining Sarah Park in 2002 under an agreement with the county. In 2009, the lease was transferred to Lake Havasu City, and in 2011, the requisites were made available so the city could apply for a patent, which was done. And the application was for 2 different pieces of property that now total 1,082.11 acres. Due to different land ownership over time, various portions of the park, the city received 2 quitclaim deeds and 2 patents to accept to convey the entire acreage to the city. The terms and the patents are substantially similar, except for the one for the shooting range. All make certain reservations to the United States for rights-of-way, mineral deposits, and valid existing rights. All but the shooting range patent may revert back to the United States if the city fails to transfer title or control of the land, or devotes the land to other purposes, fails to use the land for the conveyed purposes over 5 years, or fails to follow the plan of development. The lands may also revert if the city directly or indirectly prohibits or restricts the use of any part of the patented lands to any person due to race, creed, color, sex, national origin, or handicap. Staff recommends the acceptance of the quitclaim deeds and the patents for Sarah Park. Our own very Jason West is here, our field office manager for BLM, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Carey. We'll just go ahead and hear the vote, and then perfect, yeah. So as far as going from our situation now to a patent, can you explain that just real quick? We have some citizens that, what does that mean to us?
Currently, under the lease, it's for a specific term. So when that term expires, we have to go through the application process again for the lease. Under a patent, there's no term. We will have the land indefinitely as long as we don't fall in one of the categories where we would revert back to the United States. And so the patent gives us a little more flexibility, a little bit more closer to an ownership-like right. And we have a little bit more control. Although it's limited still, it's now under patent instead of lease.
And another great example of a patent that we have in Lake Havasu City is Rotary Community Park. So that kind of shows you the uses and kind of the operation of what that looks like. So this is a great thing. And thank you to Mr. West for all of your work on this effort on behalf of your office, and to Ms. Gary and our teams at the city for all the work on our end. Are there any additional questions of council before we open the public hearing? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Mr. West, do you want to say anything before we take the vote? Absolutely, yes.
So this is a culmination of 7 years of effort by one of my employees that I'd like to highlight tonight. She's a local resident, Sherry Ahrens. So she's our realty specialist who never let this die. She went back to the state office over and over and over again. When will it be done? What do we need to do? What are we missing? What changed? What can I do? I want to highlight Sherry's work on this to make this possible so that everybody can have Sarah Park to continue to recreate in for years to come. She's one of our own, and she did this in behalf of the city to keep it going. So it's not my work or my effort, but Sherry's that made this happen. So thank you for letting me stand up, and I can answer any questions, but it sounded like there weren't any.
Okay. Are there any questions of members of the council? No?
Okay. Right, who do I hand these to? I've been waiting for so long.
We got to vote first.
Okay.
Yeah. So perfect. And thank you to Ms. Ahrens for her work then from the BLM office as well. So anyone else like to address the city council on this matter? All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to council.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Vice Mayor Dolan?
He seems very excited to give us that park.
Yes.
So I think I'm going to speed this up. Yeah. I'd like to make a motion.
Please.
I move to accept quitclaim deed Arizona-2022-01 and Arizona 2022-002 and patents 02-2022-0001 and 02-2022-0002 for Sarah Park from the United States Bureau of Land Management, and authorize and direct city staff to file the quitclaim deeds and patents with the Mojave County Recorder.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Vice Mayor Dolan, a second from Councilmember Lane. Is there any further discussion?
And that was on 2222.
Yes, that's correct, yes. All right, I think we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, Mr. West, now we're going to join up here, and if my colleagues from the council could join me as well, we'll accept the documents. Thank you so much.
In behalf of the BLM, here is the land.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, Vice Mayor Dolan?
am I to assume we can't put storage units out there? Would that violate the?
No, it would revert back to the United
Okay,
States.
good.
Yeah.
At least we know our limits.
We haven't even filed a quitclaim yet. Yeah.
They would sell.
Yeah. All right. Again, thank you, Mr. West. We appreciate you being here. And
For the record,
for the
that
record.
was a joke, because somebody will take that serious.
All right, we'll move on to item 8.6, which is approve the purchase of a 28-foot Pac-Man landing craft police boat and a 30-foot Pac-Man landing craft fire boat from Munson Boats utilizing U.S. General Administration contract. Chief Doyle and Chief Palafis.
Mayor, Council, we're going to tag team this one. I first want to say that the Pac-Man, we didn't name the boat. That's what Munson Boats calls it. If you recall, last year we were awarded $800,000 through the State Lake Improvement Funds for watercraft replacement. As part of that process, we submitted to replace two 15-year-old boats, one from the police department and then the fire department's fire boat. The police boat is a 28-foot Pac-Man landing craft. Both of them are Pac-Man landing crafts, which means the front ramp drops down. It allows you to drive equipment on board. And also for us, for our dive team, it actually makes a great platform for divers to come on and off the boat. The police boat is in the amount of $218,103, and the 30-foot fireboat is $362,781, and this is off a GSA contract. The remainder of the $800,000 is going to be used for two motor replacements for another boat, and as well as going towards a replacement of the lifting mechanism for the fireboat.
Excellent. Thank you. Are there any questions of the chiefs from any members of the council?
Mayor, Council, thank you. Dan, you did a great job.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pete.
Yeah. You really are tag teaming it. Yes.
It's
all right. And, no questions from members of the council? All right. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. And I'd just like to, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Representative Biasucci, who ran the bill last year that allowed for the restoration of the SLIF funds. So with his efforts and the support of Senator Borelli and Representative Cobb, we've been able to get this opportunity for communities across Arizona primarily that are impacted by waterways, get access to this funding. So thank you to Representative Biasucci and certainly Bob Broscheid and his team at Arizona State Parks that are administering the program. So any additional questions or comments from members of the council or a motion?
Motion.
Councilmember Lane?
Yeah, I'd also like to say thank you for the fact that we're getting some of those dollars that we pay down to Phoenix back here to support our city. And it's really an honor to be able to do this for both the police and the fire department. So I move to approve the purchase of a 28-foot Pac-Man landing craft boat for $218,103 and a 30-foot Pac-Man landing craft fire boat for $362,781 from Munson Boats, utilizing GSA contract GS-07 F as in Frank 0442 M as in Mary in the amount of $580,884 plus applicable tax and delivery charges.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Lane and a second from Councilmember Koch. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item 8.7 is award bid for the fiscal year 2021-22 asphalt milling to Combs Construction, Inc. Mr. Frosley.
Thank you. I'll be presenting this one all by myself tonight. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. This item is a construction project or a pavement maintenance project. It's pavement milling in the residential estates area or the golf course area. You may know that those pavements in that area of town are the original pavements, and they're degrading quite rapidly. They're in bad shape. It'd be quite expensive to start paving that, so we're going to try a pilot project this year. We picked out a handful of streets in the area that we feel were the worst. We're going to, with this contract, mill the top 3/8 of an inch to a half an inch of an inch off to try to reestablish the smooth driving surface. And then under the chip seal program that you previously approved, we're going to come back and put a chip seal on that to give it a little more structural integrity. So tonight, it's the pavement milling contract with Combs Construction. It's fully funded with HERF funds, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Frosley. Are there any questions of council?
Yes. Did this go out to bid?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Are there any additional questions? Councilmember Moses?
Yeah, thank you, Greg, for your presentation. So the RE district is obviously all around the golf course. There's a lot of water runoff that comes off that golf course. When we're addressing some of these asphalt concerns, could we maybe allow that runoff not to deteriorate our roads in those certain areas?
Yes, actually, I have the same concerns and asked our maintenance supervisor to quantify that area. I would like to replace those sections of asphalt where the water does run with concrete, so it stands up to the water.
A great idea. Thank you, Greg.
Any additional questions?
I have one.
Yeah,
So
go.
have they had luck with this before? I mean, you said it's kind of a pilot for us, but I mean, is it work in other markets where they?
We've done small repair areas with this treatment, never an entire roadway here in town. So this is why I call it more of a pilot project.
I mean, it seems interesting. I like the idea of it, that it.
To provide a little contrast, the milling contract is $1.98 per square yard. And the second step is the chip seal program that you approved a few meetings ago, which is $2.14 per square yard. So this project, the 77,000 square yards, we're paying $4.12. In contrast, the paving project we just completed was in the $30 to $35 per square yard range. So we're talking a $4 and change option versus a $35 option.
Perfect.
And that's why we like chip seal all of a sudden. Yeah, just like that, everyone likes chip seal. Yeah. So
it's not an accident I had those numbers prepared.
Yeah. Would any other questions before we open the public hearing? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council.
Mayor?
Councilmember Moses?
I move to award the bid for asphalt milling to Combs Construction, Inc. in the amount of $159,991.52.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Moses and a second from Vice Mayor Dolan. Is there any additional comments? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Item 8.8 is approve the sole source purchase of Badger water meters from Badger Meter. Mr. Frosley?
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor and Council. What this item is actually our annual purchase of water meters. The Badger water meter is the standard for Lake Havasu City. We have about 37,000 Badger water meters in our system right now. Unfortunately, there's probably about 9,000 that are 15 years old or older in our system. And at that point in their life, it doesn't read nearly as accurately. So we try to do a meter replacement program every year and try to replace about 2,500, which gives us a 15-year cycle, which is our target. Last year, we only got about 1,800 meters replaced. It's mostly because it was so hard to get a full crew put together, just with the staffing issues that we've experienced. So it's all part of our annual water meter purchase. Badger is the standard, which is why it's a sole source. We do this every year, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, Mr. Presley, you mentioned that it is not an accurate read after so many years. In whose favor?
Answering as a public works director in the homeowner's favor.
Yes.
They don't read the water that you're actually using as accurately as a new meter would.
Yeah, which is important, obviously, for our
Yes.
conservation efforts to understand the water that's coming through. So thank you.
Correct.
Additional questions or comments from members of the council? Councilmember Moses?
Do these water meters have the ability for RF readings or to
Remote read?
Remote read, yes. Thank you.
These do not. These are standard. We did purchase several hundred water meters that we got through a grant. Those meters are very expensive. I think they do have a valid use, especially in areas of town where we have high volumes of traffic and we can't get our meter readers off the street. I'm looking at a program to put remote read meters in those areas, but the other areas of town, this is the best cost benefit, I think, for the city.
Thank you, Greg.
Mayor, after your comment, now I have to vote it down because I vote for the people.
Yeah. The people want water. We want to make sure we're accurate in our count. So any additional questions or comments? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Vice Mayor Dolan?
Motion?
Please.
I move to approve the sole source purchase of Badger water meters from Badger Meter in the amount of $111,000.
Second.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Dolan and a second from Councilmember Lane. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Item 8.9 is approved professional services agreement and sole source purchase of satellite imagery analysis for underground water leaks with Utilis DBA Asteria. Mr. Frosley.
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. This is quite an interesting project. Every 5 to 7 years, the city likes to do a citywide comprehensive leak analysis to see what kind of shape our system's in. We had this actual leak detection project in last year's budget, but it was tied to a grant that we were not successful with. So we went ahead and put it in the budget. How this new technology works is it is actually satellite imagery. So they move a satellite over Lake Havasu, excuse me, and they take some images, and they have the capability to detect chlorinated water under the ground somehow from space. So at that point, they overlay our system with what they found. And, anytime that they find chlorinated water in large quantities that aren't in the shape of a pipe, it's a potential for a leak. And there's another step involved where they have boots on the ground to hone in on what the satellite shows them. In the event that my explanation created more questions than answers, we do have a representative from the company who has a short presentation. Eric Trerotola is here with us, and he's got a PowerPoint. So I'll ask him to come up now. We're happy to answer any questions after that. And of course, we're hoping for approval of the contract at the end of all this. So thank you.
Yeah,
Eric.
Thank you.
Hi there. Okay, thank you. Now, this presentation is actually rather large, so I'll just go ahead and do it verbally. But if you do want to go do a deep dive, I do have a 45-minute presentation I'd love to share with you. But basically, our founder was part of a program to actually find water on Mars. And they did find water on Mars 5,000 feet beneath the Martian surface. And with that technology, that's what we're using to find water here on Earth. It's basically, there's two different approaches to find water. A reactive approach, where you're waiting for water to just basically bubble up, or a proactive approach. The problem with the proactive approach is most water is subsurface, so therefore you never get to see where it's at. What our technology does is find the treated water that's in saturated soil. So we're not gonna tell you where all your swimming pools are. We're actually looking for treated water in saturated soil, then find a boots on the ground, a field investigation crew to go out and then locate and verify those leaks. The entire project includes both our analysis as well as the boots on the ground. So that way the city will actually get a complete list of verified leaks. It's far more, basically, In a nutshell, the value proposition is that we provide 300 to 400% more leaks per day with about a quarter of the labor, because we're basically pinpointing the areas to look for them. But if we want to go into the 45-minute presentation, let's go.
Yeah, thank you for the brief explanation. Are there any questions of members of the council?
Yeah. I mean, how accurate can it be?
We're 80% sure when we see a leak that there is a leak. The challenge is verifying the leak. That's what the field investigation crew. So when we pinpoint a leak, we can bring it within about 300-foot radius of where it's at. So it just really narrows down. When we do a complete scan, we do a system-wide scan of the entire system. We then highlight 5 to 10% of the system that needs to be looking for leaks. So pretty narrow area, but not to the point where you'd want to cut concrete or anything like that. That's what the boots on the ground team does. So they then will acoustically listen, or with electronic devices, correlators, to then pinpoint the leak.
And you are the boots on the ground as well?
Yes. Yeah. It's contracted.
Yeah. How long have you folks been in business?
6 years.
Okay.
In 58 countries, and we've done 500 projects.
Excellent.
Yeah, we've saved yearly 9.2 billion gallons of water every year.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great.
It's pretty interesting stuff.
Yes.
But the synthetic aperture radar that we are using has been around since the late 1950s. It was used as a military satellite. It can see through clouds, night or day. Really, the analysis and our algorithms are what makes this a viable project now.
Yeah, great. Vice Mayor Dolan, did you have a question?
I have a question for the city side. So is this to detect our own system, our own leaks, or is it for, if I have a leak in my front yard, they'll pick up on that, or is it mainly just for our main infrastructure?
Yeah, the intention isn't to examine a private irrigation system. It's for the city's municipality's water system.
Well, I mean, like if at the gas station, I had a huge leak outside, I didn't realize it till it's totally saturated. Is something like that would get picked up in the system? I mean, not like, landscaping water, but I mean, is it like if it's connected to your house and there's a leak, it'll pick up those things. It's not just to pick up just our main water lines and things like that.
We're going in looking at the main water lines, but it's pipe agnostic. So we can't see a customer side leak versus a utility side leak. So yes, quite often when we go out there and they go look for a leak, a lot of times it's on the customer side. Okay. A lot of times it's on the customer side, it's leaking, but then the meter's not charging. So really the city's paying for it. So
could have really used you guys last month, but it was.
I'm sure, yeah.
But definitely a valuable service. I mean, you realize how much water you lose before it actually bubbles up and you can see it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, right. And if the city gets that information that a private citizen is losing water, they'll be notified, and obviously. Yeah. Okay, great, thank you.
All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Yeah, Bonnie.
I'm sorry, I just was really confused about the.
Pardon me.
Oh, that's okay. Well, I should just. Doesn't matter what I should have done. I didn't do what I should have done. I rarely do. One day.
You're behind. Yeah, you put taller.
They do make heels, whether I walk in them or not. That's a different story. I'm confused about what this service is for. Is it going to be an everyday service? Like, will they be going, looking at our land every day, and then as you asked him, they're going to tell somebody, oh, your house is leaking water in your backyard? Or is it just a one-time shot? Oh, there's where the leaks are type of a deal? That's what I didn't understand. Thanks.
Yeah, great question. Mm-hmm. It is one scan, and then we do the analysis for it. We provide what we call points of interest. Those are the 5 to 10% of the system that we highlight, and then basically issue out the boots on the ground to go out and investigate those points of interest so they can verify the leaks. So it is a one-time scan. The idea is, next time we do a service again, we do a complete system area scan, and that's the idea. But yeah, it's one scan.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Would anyone else like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion. Yeah, Councilmember Moses.
I move to approve the professional service agreement and sole source purchase of satellite imagery analysis with Utilis DBA Astera in the amount of $110,000.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Moses and a second from Councilmember Campbell. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Oh, God, I forget to do that.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item is item 8.10. Approved sole source purchase is for the Trojan UV 3000 plus disinfection systems at the Island Mulberry North Regional Treatment Plants from Trojan Technologies. Mr. Fernando.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council members. I'm here to ask you approval of purchasing disinfection system components for wastewater treatment plants from Trojan Technologies. Ultraviolet radiation is the most effective, safe, and environmentally friendly way to disinfect wastewater. It is absorbed by the DNA of microorganisms, destroy this structure, and inactivate living cells. Little lesson here. Microorganisms such as viruses, bacteria, yeast, and fungi are made harmless within seconds by UV radiation. Here is a picture of the UV bank. When in use, it is immersed in the channel of flowing water. There are multiple banks in each channel. Okay, the boards and lamp drivers are the brains of the system. Next slide is the level control gate, which adjusts the level of water and controls the contact time of water with radiation. These UV lights, actually this is the first one, you can see the UV lights here. These are protected by quartz sleeves. Quartz usually does not absorb the UV radiation. Most of the other type of glasses do. And these sleeves are periodically cleaned by automatic wipers to remove buildup of hardness. Existing system we have is obsolete after 18 years of use. It is necessary to upgrade hydraulic system and automatic wiping system. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So what's the wiping system now? It's hydraulic?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was a lot moving there for a second. So I was like, all right, let me just make sure I'm understanding this.
If you take a look at this slide here, in the sides of these UV lights, there are black round pieces. Those pieces, they slide back and forth.
Gotcha.
So that mechanism is driven by hydraulic.
Got it. Yeah, thank you. All right, are there any other questions of members of the council, Mr. Fernando? Seeing none, this is a public public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mayor, motion.
Councilmember Lane?
It's like a bidet for our system. I did. I move to approve sole source purchases for the Trojan UV 3000 plus disinfection system at the Island, Mulberry, and North Regional Treatment Plants exceeding $50,000 for fiscal year 21-22 from Trojan UV Systems, a division of Trojan Technologies, and authorize the city manager to execute a Trojan contract addendum, which is a mutual agreement to purchase order terms and conditions between the city and Trojan.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Lane and a second from Vice Mayor Dolan. Any additional
I embarrassed myself.
Comments? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. All right, and our final public hearing is item 8.11, ratifying acceptance of a second price increase exceeding 5% for Hill Brothers Chemical Company for odor control chemicals for the North Regional Wastewater Treatment Plant and the Mulberry Wastewater Treatment Plant. Mr. Fernando.
Okay, this time I didn't include the names of those chemicals, so it's a little easier. And the second thing, I couldn't find any pictures of the odor, so it's real hard.
Yeah.
So anyway, these chemicals are used in odor control systems for mulberry and North treatment plants. And this is the second price increase exceeding 5% requested by Hill Brothers during current fiscal year. Due to supply chain disruptions and market conditions, we have a challenging time ahead of us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's, the city is not immune to the supply chain issues that many of our businesses and citizens are feeling, and we're seeing the same issues with inflation and challenges in that area. Any questions or comments from members of the council before we open the public hearing?
Yeah, and at what point would we send this back out to bid to see if there is somebody who's not having the same supply chain issues, or, you know what I mean, once we
Sure.
get to a certain price?
Yeah, it's a great
increase?
question. Yeah, I don't know if that would be good. Mr. Fernando?
There are a couple of things that we already know. Hill Brothers said that they are not going to increase their prices for the remainder of the fiscal year. And the second thing that we know is most of the other suppliers, we are not their primary customer. So they are reluctant to sell us the chemical because of the limited supply.
Yeah, excuse me, if I could just add to that, Mr. Mayor, one of the issues we're finding is the chemicals are in such limited supply. If we went and put this back on the street, nobody would give us a price because it's in such high demand right now. And if we were to say, because we have established relationships with our chemical suppliers, we're notified and given the first right of refusal. So it's likely if we said, no, we have a contract with you, they would cancel the contract and sell it to somebody else who would pay that higher cost. It's just strictly a pass through. We're paying what they're paying. They're not profiting on this.
And I wasn't alluding to anything nefarious on the part of Hill Brothers. It was just, at what point do we,
Sure.
you know?
I don't know, other than I know we're not at that point now. It's too volatile, the market, and we need to have our chemicals. We have 3 treatment plants. We treat over 4 million gallons every single day.
Yeah, we need it.
So I came up here only because we did talk at great length about canceling the contract and rebidding, and we just didn't have any good options. So this is our recommendation to council tonight.
Mayor?
Yeah.
McKenna, Greg, if you can too, I know it's just in the idea stage, but there are some discussions that you've started. Looking at maybe a biological
Sure.
approach for odor control.
Through the budget process that we're just getting into now, we have included dollars in this upcoming budget to do some changes at our plants to change from chemical odor control to biological odor control, so we're not so reliant on these chemicals that are so hard to get. And that wasn't my idea, that was Thelac's idea.
And it sounds like you did negotiate the price to stay steady through the rest of the year?
Yes.
Great.
We did.
Good job.
Several meetings with Hill Brothers.
Okay. Appreciate your effort. Thank you.
Any additional questions? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mayor?
Councilmember Moses?
I move to ratify acceptance of a second price increase effective January 1st, 2022, exceeding 5% for the Hills Brother Chemical Company, B22-PW-500145 for odor control chemicals for the North Regional Wastewater Treatment Plant and the Mulberry Wastewater Treatment Plant.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Moses and a second from Councilmember Koch. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. All right, item 9 is current events. Are there any council committee reports?
I plan to give a PED report, but they beat me to it.
Fair enough.
And I'd like to say that I'm excited to join the MPO Executive Board, and I hope my years of expertise will move the city even forward more than it's going already.
Excellent. Any additional council committee reports? All right, future meetings are Tuesday, March 8th, 2022 at 6 p.m. will be a regular meeting. And then on Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022 at 6 p.m. will also be a regular meeting. Are there any future discussion items? All right, item 12, motion to adjourn.
So
All right, we have a motion and a second. We are adjourned. Thank you all for being here. Be kind, and we'll see you next time.